Okay, hi everyone. Welcome along to the session tonight. My name is Dave. It's awesome to be with you here tonight, and thank you for joining in. So, the plan tonight is I'm going to start off talking a little bit about myself, but I don't want to talk too much about myself really. A bit about where I am, what I'm doing here, the Space Centre, because that's what it's all about. So just a bit of an overview about that. And then we're going to talk about some other projects and things that I've been working on. And we'll just kind of take it from there, really. So I hope this all makes sense. We'll get to the proper introduction shortly. So if you've got any questions throughout the session, please type them into the chat or however you normally do it. I will try and keep an eye on the chat myself, but I'll see how that goes. No guarantees, but there definitely will be time at the end of the session for questions. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to point out because I always forget to do this. This is the first time I think I've actually remembered to do this. The first thing is I want to make it clear that I am a space enthusiast. I'm not a professional space person other than the fact that I do it full time. So technically I'm professional, but I'm not a scientist. I've never done formal research and that kind of thing. But I think I can talk sensibly about most space things. So I'm seeing some things come into the chat already, so that's working. Kia ora, everyone. Thank you so much. Anyway, so let's talk about who I am and why I'm even here. So my name is Dave. I'm often called Space Dave. It's a name that has kind of stuck. It just happened. And I own and manage Te Awamutu Space Centre, which is where I am right now. You can see some of it behind me. I'll show you another camera view. This is the room that I'm in at the moment. And if you see me waving down there, that's where I'm sitting right now. So this is where I get to hang out and spend my time. So, oopsie, sorry, I'm just getting my system sorted out here as well. So if there's a few hiccups tonight, I've changed a few things around. So hopefully everything will go okay. So yeah, so I work here at the Space Centre. And I'm here tonight to talk about what we do here and about what's been happening over the last couple of years. Now, before we get stuck into that, I do need to do a quick shout out to Hamilton Astronomical Society. That was the picture that just came up before. This is Hamilton Observatory by the zoo in Hamilton. It's a really good medium-sized observatory. Some of you have probably been here. If not, you really should come for a visit. We've got some quite nice gear here, including the 24-inch Cassegrain up in the dome there. And it's a good society. It's got a strong membership, I think, and lots of friendly people. You know how it works. So we would love to see you down here at the observatory anytime. It's pretty easy to find online. Just search for Hamilton Astronomical Society. Pretty easy to find. So let's talk about the Space Centre. So where we find it, it's actually south of Hamilton. So if you drive about 30 minutes south of Hamilton on the main road, the yellow line there is the state highway, and we're actually in Kihikihi, which is a small village just south of Te Awamutu, but it's on the main road. So if you look out for us, you should be able to see us. It looks like this. So it's a bit of a nondescript building, but there are some spacey things around it. If you keep an eye out for it, you should be able to see it. It's actually an old church hall that we've converted into a small space centre. If we go inside, you've already seen the live view, but this is a photo of what it looks like on a sort of a reasonably busy day. These photos are pre-COVID. Everything has changed since COVID. Obviously, you can see no masks or anything there, but that's what it would look like on a weekend day or just, say, in the school holidays or something when we just open to the general public. So that's the first thing is that people just, they usually book a time. You just come in here. It's an interactive museum. You just walk around, have a go on stuff, have a look at things. And most people will stay for sort of between 1 and 2 hours. About an hour and a half is about the average stay. We also did, before COVID, school groups. So this is a typical school visit here. We have a slightly different program for schools where I usually do a talk and we have a set program that we work through. Of course, that has all changed since COVID and we haven't been doing schools since then, but hopefully we will get back into that. We do occasional evening sessions where we might bring in a guest speaker. We don't really do telescope viewing so much. I usually just refer people to the observatory in Hamilton for telescope viewing, although we do it sometimes. And we do a few other bits and pieces, kids' birthday parties and all of that kind of stuff. So it's just like you would imagine, really. You come along here and you just go for your life, really, and just have a look around and have a play with everything. I'll talk just quickly about some of the stuff that we've got here. Really, the heart of the Space Centre here would be the collection of space memorabilia, so things like this. It's not a huge collection. I think if you compared this to some of the serious collectors overseas, it wouldn't stack up that well. But as far as I know, it's the only place in New Zealand where you can go and see a reasonable amount of genuine flown in space and other related space memorabilia. So you can see some space suits, flight suits there. There's some other bits of space suits here. We've got lots of models and other things that sort of go with it. So in this case, we've got a couple of Saturn rockets there broken out with explanations of how it all works and how it fits together. So quite a lot of things like that to go with the displays. Most of the displays, I have to say, generally are around, well, sorry, at least most of the collection is around space flight. We do have stuff related to astronomy as well, lots of displays, but in terms of actually physical artifacts and things, not so much related to astronomy, but I've got some nice vintage instruments and a few old books and things like that. So that's the objects, the museum pieces and stuff that you can look at, and there's quite a few more. But so that would be the sort of heart of what we've got here. Then on top of that, there's a bunch of other displays and things that you can look at. In particular, we have quite a few screen-based displays. So what these people are looking at here are some live feeds, or I say live, more or less live feeds. You can see some feeds coming from the sun there, from the Solar Dynamics Observatory and from Soho and various other places. So that's quite a big part of it, and this is important. I'm going to come back to this later because I really, really like the whole thing with live feeds and information and all sorts of stuff coming from space. As you can imagine, we tap into things like the live video feeds coming from the International Space Station. There's a screen there with some live feeds from the SpaceX facility. And there's a bunch of things like that, just various live feeds. And I will get back to that because I've got a project that I'm working on related to that. So these are screens that you can just look at and see information and stuff, but we also have quite a lot of interactive screens and other activities. So these computers, they've all got keypads in front of them. You press buttons and you make things happen. So we've actually got Stellarium. If you can see that screen there, that's actually just a Stellarium set up with a keyboard so that you can move around and look at things in the sky. There's a quiz there. This is a little game where you have to land the lunar lander, and it's sort of a bit of a physics-based game. And there's some other things there. So these are really popular. People come and they just sit down and they have a play with them. People can sit down for ages on some of these things, and they are very, very popular. I have to say that it's a bit of a double-edged sword having these interactive things. They're really popular, they work really well from the customer's point of view, but they are difficult to manage, they're expensive. That's where most of my problems happen, when someone breaks something or something stops working. So they're a bit of a nightmare to look after, to be honest. But they are really good. They're really worthwhile. Now, there's a bunch of other things that you can do while you're at the Space Centre. For example, you can do a bunch of activities and you can earn credits, and you can get yourself a badge with your astronaut wings on it, and you can get different ranks depending on how much effort you want to make. So it's a lot about education and learning stuff. Obviously, it's about having fun when you come here, but the focus really is on everyone at least learning something interesting about space before they leave. Now, a lot of our customers really have no interest in space, so that can be a bit of a challenge, but it's a good challenge because those are the ones you want to target, right? The people who haven't yet got an interest, but you can hook them on something while they're here and start the questions flowing and stuff. So that's a big part of it. It's amazing how many people don't want to be here. I don't know if that's much of an issue at Stardome, but it certainly is here. We get a lot of things like mystery tours where people don't even know where they're going, and then a whole lot of them come in and they're all grumpy when they realize it's about space and they don't care about it. But the trick is, by the time they leave, you've got them talking and interested in it. So that's a bit of an overview of what we do here at the Space Centre. I will also point out that we do have a shop. It's behind me at the moment, and you may be able to spot some Astron's telescopes there. So we are very proud supporters of Astrons, and we spend a lot of time talking to people, obviously just about telescopes, but I'm very big on promoting the Astrons telescopes and talking about the Astrons ethos. I can't say we sell a lot of telescopes, but before COVID at least, we had a fairly regular turnover, in particular the Dobsonians and binoculars. Love your guys' binoculars, Astrons, you're fantastic. So that is, I think, pretty much all I really wanted to say about the Space Centre here, because it's fairly obvious. And if you want to find out more about it, you can go and visit our website. It's spacecentre.nz, or it's pretty easy to Google. You can go there, you can find out more about what we've got here, and you can book a time to come and see us. So just hang on a sec. Right, Alastair from Stargazers. Oh, hi, Alastair, nice to see you. Nice to have you here. You've been and seen us before. Do you have any meteorites on site, and what are they, and where did you get them? Not much. I've got one iron meteorite. It's about this big. It's okay. It's a reasonable one. And I've got a tektite or two, a reasonable sized tektite. But that's about it, to be honest. I did have one more, but it got stolen. I was gutted about that one. My security wasn't good enough. But if you've got any spare, I'd love to get one or two more. So anyway, what I've talked about is basically how things normally work here at the Space Centre. Of course, in March 2020, everything went pear-shaped, and we had to completely reevaluate what happened here. This place is completely self-funded. Pretty much our only income is door sales and the odd other activity that I do, but we don't get any kind of public funding or anything. We did get the government assistance when COVID hit, but really, that was just to tide us over a little bit. I had to completely rethink things. So when COVID hit, all our school groups just stopped. I think I've had 2 or 3 schools since COVID started. They basically, even when we went out of lockdown, they just didn't come back because they were still trying to catch up with all their own stuff. And it's just been a disaster. And then when the second round of COVID came last year, no one wants to come to a place like this. So it's just been absolutely horrendous. So it's been a really tough time. I'll be straight up about it. And things have been getting a little bit desperate here. But it's not all bad news. So fortunately, I do have a background in doing things online. In fact, my online work, working with websites and things, was actually what largely funded this place in the first place. So I did at least have some options, and that's what I want to talk about next, and go through some of the things that I've been doing since we basically had to turn around and try something different. And talk maybe about how it might be useful for other people as well. So it's not just all about how I'm surviving. Some of the things that I've been working on, hopefully you might be able to find some use for as well. Now, I see there's another couple of questions. Let me just lean over and have a quick look over there. I can get meteorites which are small, and but sorry, actually, thank you, Mike. You pointed out meteorite stuff from the Moon and Mars. I didn't even think about that. I have got a couple of little slithers from the Moon and Mars, a tiny, tiny little piece of Mars about this big, just a slice, and a similar thing for the Moon. So those are obviously meteorites that have come from those places, have been found on Earth, and then you can buy them. Thank you very much for bringing that up, Mike. Yes, they certainly are unusual, Mike, and they do get a bit of interest. Even though they're so small, I sort of get a bit of attention on them. I point things at them, so they are great. Now, Alastair is also asking, do you have many visitors who don't believe the moon landing took place, and how do you handle them? Let me show you something. I have a thing right next to my desk saying, I don't know if you can read that actually, the number of times this month I've been asked if the moon landings were real, and I keep a little tally going there. It's actually normally much more than that, but because we're not getting the numbers of people coming through, it's not happening. I would say that on a reasonably busy day, like the day I showed you before, if I had a crowd sort of like this in here, I would expect at least one person every day to challenge me on the moon landing, often more. It's a headache, isn't it? But at the same time, as much as I get sick of having to go over the whole thing of why is the flag waving, why are there no stars and all the rest of it, it is a really good way to get people thinking a bit more critically about things and showing them how easy it is to be fooled by fake information and stuff like that. So although I hate the whole moon hoax theory, it is actually a useful way to start turning people around. And one of the things I'd say that I'm really proud of with my work here is the number of people that I've converted away from the moon hoax theory. There's just few greater feelings than when someone goes away thinking, oh, okay, yeah, actually that does make sense. And I've even seen a few posts on social media about it. When I think about it, if I go back to our website, we have a section here called resources. It's a bit of a mishmash at the moment. It's a bunch of stuff that I've put together. I was going to talk about this later, but in here I've actually built a couple of little frequently asked question places, one of them for the moon hoax, so you can go through and answer a whole bunch of questions about that. And of course, we've got to deal with the flat earthers as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff there about the whole flat earth nonsense. Flat earthers are a lot harder to convert. I don't really know if I've converted many, maybe ones who are a bit curious about it. But once you've become a flat earther, it's a lot more difficult to move them away from it. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat here. Alastair's saying meteorites can be useful interactive ideas, gives them some slag and a real meteorite and ask them to tell which is which, generates lots of discussions and fun. Thanks for that, Alastair. You probably had a lot more experience with this, given your geological background and stuff. But I get a lot of people coming in with what they think are meteorites. And I don't know if you've had much of this, but it's awful, isn't it? Someone comes in with the family meteorite that granddad found on the farm back in 1950, and they've decided it's time to sell it, and they bring it into me to ask what I think it's worth. And I have to tell them that it's not a meteorite. That's a really difficult one, that one. Alastair is also asking, do I have a plasma globe? No, I don't. I should have. Yes, that's one of the things that should be on my list. Thanks for reminding me about that. Anyway, I need to keep moving on here because there's a bunch of stuff that we want to talk about, but do keep these questions coming. I love this. Now, the things that I want, well, what happened after COVID? Let's just go over that. So when COVID hit and I had to really rethink things, really the only option was to start doing things online. So basically, I've got four main areas that are sort of worth considering. If I just go through them quickly, first of all, social media. I'm actually not really going to talk much about that. But then I've got the website resources that I've just kind of shown you there. Then I want to talk a little bit about the Zoom sessions, because that's been a big part of what I'm doing and what I would like to keep doing in the future. And perhaps you can help me out, or we can help each other with that a little bit. And then there's one more thing that a project that I'm working on that I'm calling the Universe Monitor. And I'll get to that shortly. So let's just quickly go through those things. If we go back to my website, first of all, with the social media, you can see that there are some links up here. And we have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. So if you want to come and subscribe on YouTube, that'd be awesome. If you just search for Space Dave on YouTube, or if you look us up on Facebook. What were the other ones I do? I haven't really been active on Twitter and Instagram. Those are the other ones. Now, I have to confess that I have actually been slack on social media, and that's mainly why I don't want to talk much about it, because if you go and look at it, you will think, well, this isn't that great. He hasn't done anything for 2 months. So I'm hoping to get back into it. I would be a lot more motivated if I could get some more subscribers. So on YouTube, for example, I'm sitting at less than 1,000, and that's not really enough to do much with. So I could certainly do with some more subscribers there. Now, the other thing is that in Auckland, you guys are you're already doing heaps of really good stuff with social media. So I don't really think there's anything that I can tell you about how that works. You're already doing a great job of it. So the next thing that I should mention again was the resources thing. So if we go back to our website, this whole thing about resources, so there are a few prongs to this. What you're seeing in the resources section of this particular website is really just, it's kind of a repository of lots of different resources that I've just been building up over the years, and I've put them all together in one place, and I'm trying to organize it and get it together a bit more. So, for example, I'm trying to get together a thing where you can go through and just learn about the basics of space, how it all works. You can sort of see what I'm talking about here. And I showed you the frequently asked questions thing. Now, this is really useful for making other things more efficient. So I get so many questions just coming in all of the time through email, social media, or if I'm doing a live session. It's really helpful to have a lot of the answers already made to the common questions and just point them there. So I find that really helpful. The other thing is you will notice some ads along the bottom. That kind of sucks, but really in the end, I need to make money. So the things that I've been working on, they've got to generate some sort of income for me. So unfortunately, I have gone for the idea of putting an ad. It's one ad at the bottom of every page. That's my limit. I won't do any more than that. But that's why you're seeing ads there, to help bring in a little bit of money. So that's all I really need to say about the website resources. I think I really wanted to talk about the other things, the Zoom sessions and this other project called the Universe Monitor. So let's talk a little bit about them. So now if we go back way pre-COVID, I had done a number of remote sessions with schools in New Zealand where I just log in. I think it was by Skype back then, actually. I can't even really remember. But it never really took off that well. They went fine, but New Zealand schools just, they didn't really see much of a benefit in it. But when COVID hit, everything changed. And what I found was that here in New Zealand, because we had a limited lockdown period, first of all, and we were looking at light at the end of the tunnel within a month or two, it never really took off in New Zealand. But it did take off overseas. And I found that a lot of schools overseas were desperate to try and get some sort of remote learning happening. So there was an opportunity. So I jumped straight in with that. So basically how it works is here's a picture of me. There's a school. They've got the big screen up the front of the class. I just log in, usually via Zoom, but whatever they want to use. And we just run a session there. So it's certainly not like being live, like having the kids come here. Obviously, it's not the same experience, but it actually worked pretty well. Initially, the schools were hopeless. They were busy trying to get their IT set up capable for this. We had a lot of hiccups and that sort of stuff. But I found that after about a month or two, most of the overseas schools I was dealing with were actually pretty good and well set up. And it started being quite a big thing. This is a cool picture. Look at this one. This was a school in the UK where all the kids made a special effort. This was just for me. They did all of this. They made their space helmets and everything, and they did a big reveal when I came online. So they all showed me their stuff. So that went really, really well, and I had a lot of fun doing that. Most of the schools I was doing were in the UK, some in the States, but also from a bunch of other places. In fact, if we go back to that other photo, I'll just show you this one. This was actually a school in Spain. So you'll see that everything is in English, or if you can read it. I don't know if you can, but what I have found is that there are a lot of schools in non-English speaking countries that are set up as English-speaking schools to help the kids become bilingual. And it's actually quite a big thing overseas. So a lot of schools were really keen to get me on board, even for the fact that it's someone speaking English and that whole thing. So the novelty of having someone from New Zealand was also a big selling factor. So they are hard work when you're talking to a bunch of kids. I mean, just imagine this. You're talking to primary school kids who aren't really that good at English, and then you're throwing a whole bunch of astronomical terms and concepts at them. It's a lot harder than natural English-speaking people, but really, really worthwhile doing. So what normally happens in one of these sessions is it's very much just like what we're doing right now. I just come on like this, and I'm showing them pictures and whatnot. And we go from there. Lots of questions usually. One of the things I will point out is that one of the tools I use, it's a software program. Some of you will be familiar with this. It's called Celestia. It's a space simulator, which means that we can sort of have a look around in space. It's a real-time simulation of what you can see in space. So obviously we're looking at the Earth here right now. This is what the Earth looks like right now. So if we could come around here, you can see there's New Zealand down here. And so we can talk about days and nights and all of that kind of stuff. seasons, the moon phases, and then on to other things. And then when people have got questions, you can respond in real time. So someone might say, what's the question? Saturn, can we talk about the rings of Saturn? So I've got it all set up so that we can just go straight there and we can have a look at it, and we can arrive at Saturn and we can see it from the different angles, and we can talk about the rings, and I can back that up with photos and other stuff. So that whole thing of trying to be a bit more dynamic, so it's not just still images, it's real-time things where people can interact. And, can you show me one of the moons of Saturn? So we'll go and have a look at it and all of that sort of thing. It works really, really well. Some of you will be familiar with these kinds of programs. I'm guessing that someone might ask why I'm still using Celestia. It's a very old program. It's a long story. I am trying to use more modern ones, maybe Space Engine or one of those ones, but there are a few technical problems with trying to incorporate them into my system. As it happens, I've got all of the stuff set up with a bunch of physical keypads around me. Have I got a photo of that? This one will do. Let me quickly show you that. I should have showed you this before. This is a photo of where I'm sitting right now, and you can see those blue keypads in front of me. So those are all linked in with the software so that we can bring in all of these different things. And that makes a big, big difference. So rather than just having a prepared PowerPoint presentation that we go through, I've got a whole bunch of still images, videos, and other things that we can do to try and make it a bit more dynamic. So that's essentially how a Zoom session would work with a school or other groups. I still do quite a few scout groups and some other interest groups. And really what happens is it's done by donation. So I don't actually charge them as such, but I lean on them a little bit to get a donation. And that works out around about the same as what I could probably realistically charge for them. So that's what's happening with the Zoom things. What I did find was that, of course, doing the overseas stuff is very taxing. You're working night shift, basically. So I did that for about 6 months or longer, actually. It might have been closer to a year. But I just got so tired of doing it. It all got a little bit too much, really. So I pulled back from doing that. We were out of lockdown by then, so I started trying to do things here. Then COVID came back and everything went the other way. And so right now, I am trying to do more sessions with schools in New Zealand. And I have to say, with apologies to any teachers in the audience, that New Zealand schools have been very slow on the uptake with getting these remote sessions going. I'm finding a lot more trouble with IT setups and teacher competencies and stuff. It's been a real struggle in New Zealand. My own local schools here have been shocking. So I wish it wasn't like that, but I really do think that schools probably could be making a bit more of an effort to get some of this remote learning stuff happening. So where we're at the moment is that I am about to get back into doing some more overseas Zoom sessions, but I would really, really love to be doing it in New Zealand, even though the exchange rate doesn't help me, whereas it does with the overseas ones. But just the lifestyle thing, it's just too hard trying to work night shift. So that's where we're at with the Zoom thing at the moment. If anyone feels like referring me to a school or telling schools about what I do here, that would be very much appreciated. I'm just going to have a look at our chat. Right, so Melanie is asking, does the fact that you are in New Zealand play much of a part of your talk with international students, or is it more that you're a subject matter expert? I think it's both. They definitely want subject matter experts. You've got to be able to, to be able to back up what you're talking about. And anyone who's taught kids before knows that they have an enormous range of questions to do with space, and they're often the hardest ones. The kids often ask the more difficult questions than the adults do. So you certainly have to know enough to be able to do that. And I think it's really important to have the visuals to back it up as well. And I think the point of difference that I'm trying to make is being able to respond in real time to questions. So if someone asks about a particular planet or a spaceship or whatever, you've got something visual to show them in response. It makes a huge difference if you can do that, rather than just, no, these are the only pictures I've got to show you. However, the thing about being in New Zealand has been a big bonus overseas. It's the novelty of having someone from the other side of the world. And when I show them on Celestia that I'm in New Zealand, when we're talking about things like days and nights and times and stuff, it's surprising what a reaction you get. So if you say to them, for example, well, actually, I normally start with where they are. So let's say if up here in the UK, this would be a common one. So I find out beforehand where they are. So it might be someone in London. So we'd start off by saying, so this is you guys right now. You're in there somewhere, and you can see that it's morning for you. You can blah blah blah, how the Earth's moving around. If we want to find me, we've got to come right round to the other side of the planet, and this is me down here. You can see that it's nighttime here, and we're talking about the Earth rotating and everything, and you can see me in here, etc. So it really does actually help. It's a big thing. It's much more easy to be interesting when you're talking to people overseas. Okay, thanks for that. Just looking at how our time's going. I think we've still got lots of time here. So what I'm thinking is that I might, let's move on to the next thing, actually. I want to talk about this other project that I've been working on, because I can talk about that quite a bit, and it's quite a big thing for me right now. So, excuse me. So it's this thing, it's a website, or technically it's a web app, but it behaves as a website. You can have a look at it on your desktop, mobile phone. It should work on any sized screen. So it's called Universe Monitor, and you find it at universemonitor.com. So all one word, no hyphens or anything, universemonitor.com. And the idea with this is originally it was based on this whole thing with the live feeds. So, for example, if we, I'll go back and show you just that one of the photos I showed before. I've got maybe a dozen, maybe 15 screens or something like that that are showing some sort of live feed coming from space. Could be the sun, different views of the Earth, or wind currents, all of that kind of stuff. The space station things. And I often get people asking me if the public can go and access these things as well. Well, the short answer is, yeah, most of them you can find on various different websites, but you've got to go to a whole bunch of different websites. It's often not that easy to find what you're looking for. You've got to go to different places. If you want images of the sun, you've got to go to one of those websites. Whereas if you're looking for what rocket launches are coming up, those are different websites or apps. What I really wanted to do was to be able to say to people, yes, here's a website that you can go to that's got a whole bunch of that stuff all in one place. So we're looking at the default desktop view of Universe Monitor here, and it's divided into 6 panels, but the main ones are the 3 along the top there. Along the top left, this panel, this is the one that relates to all the live feeds. And this is really the heart of this project. The other things I just kind of tacked on afterwards because I could. So the idea is that, I'll tell you what, I'll just go through each of these panels and just talk a little bit about what you can get from each of them. So with the live feeds, for example, you're seeing a bunch of feeds there. You click on an image and that will show you the live feed. By default, it's giving you a sort of a medium resolution of whatever you are looking at. But you can click to get higher or lower resolutions to get a bigger image. So this is an image, a composite image of the Earth that's taken over the last 24 hours. It's not perfect. We haven't timed this one very well. You can see a big bit of missing data there. But usually it's actually pretty good. And if you scroll down, there's a bit of information underneath it and some related feeds. You can click for more information. So, for example, if we click down here, this will tell you about the satellite that's getting these images or the particular instruments that it's using. So it will tell you how these images are acquired and more background information. For most people, I think they're probably just looking for the pretty pictures. So we've got a bunch of different ones related to the Earth. This one is related to temperature, moon phase, of course. And you can click for higher resolution images. So what we're seeing here is 16 sort of representative images of different kinds of live feeds. But just below it, you can see, you can click on the icons there for lots more feeds. So this one is showing you all the feeds that we currently have related to the Earth. So we've got things like the current carbon dioxide forecast, carbon monoxide, methane, etc., things to do with the atmosphere, vegetation coverage, the view of Earth from different angles, for example, and lots of stuff like that. So you can just click on any of them for more information. So those are the Earth feeds that we have. If you click on the sun icon, this gives you a whole lot of images from the sun. This is really one of my favorite ones, actually, partly because it was such a mission making all of these. And they're very visually impressive, I think, the views of the sun. It's changing all the time, and it's really cool to be able to see all this sort of stuff. Most of these images are coming from either the Solar Dynamics Observatory or the SOHO Observatory. And I tell you, it's an enormous challenge getting all of these in. Now, you can go to those websites and see all of these same images. But of course, if you go to the SDO website, you're seeing their images. You'd have to go to the SOHO website or somewhere else to see theirs. What I really wanted to do was to have a place where you could see lots of these things all at once. So if we just click on one of these random images, these images are coming in from SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. These images come in pretty reliably every 15 minutes. So what you're seeing here is just a still image, first of all, that has been taken generally sometime in the last 15 minutes or so, and it will update. But this particular feed, you've also got a video option. Lots of them have the video option. And I've got this one set up so that it's showing you the last 7 days up until sometime in the last 15 minutes. I've actually just, let me think. I'm actually just going to show you another one over here. I just need to set that up over here. Just give me a quick sec. This one I was really pleased with. This one is, let me just, yeah, I can bring it up here. So this is the one that shows you a whole bunch of different feeds from the sun, mostly the SDO. But the thing that I really like about this one is not only are you seeing the SDO and the SOHO coronagraphs, the two in the bottom right there are coronagraph images showing a wider view. You can't actually see the sun in those ones, of course, it's obscured, but you're seeing the atmosphere of the sun, but you're seeing these all together in the same place. And the big thing with this one that took me quite a long time to try and get right was to actually synchronize them in time. So if you go to the SDO website, for example, you will see all of the images on the top 2 rows there. And you can set, it's a great website, and you can set it up to show you these different videos for different wavelengths. But they're all over the place. They're not synchronized with each other. And that really bugged me a lot. And I wanted to be able to make a real-time ongoing video where they're actually synchronized with each other, and that I've not only synchronized the SDO images, but also the SOHO ones. And as far as I know, I haven't found anywhere else that's been able to do that in real time. So it's automated. It'll always show you these things synchronized. And there were some real challenges in here, especially the one showing you the, oh, whoopsie, yikes. Sorry about that. The magnetic fields on the bottom row, second from the left, is showing you the magnetic fields. And that's something that's just updated, from what I can tell, at random times by some human. So trying to get that ingested and automatically synchronizing with the rest of them was a blooming nightmare. And that's also why some of these are jerky. It's not perfect, but I just wanted to show that one off because I was really pleased with that one. So those are some of the sort of things that I have been working on. Every feed in the whole project has its own story. Let's just talk about some of the other feeds in here. Let's just go back to the home page here. So we've had a bit of a look at the Earth and Sun feeds. The next category would be space flight. Now, I don't have as much here as I would like. I just can't find many more that I can use, really. So along the top, we've got the tracking map for the International Space Station that shows you where that is. The 2 video feeds that come from the space station. I'm sure lots of you will be familiar with these. So you just click on them and you're seeing the current live feed from the space station, hopefully. Oh, it's nighttime, of course. So what else have we got? Rocket launches that I'll come back to. NASA's Deep Space Network. Lots of you will have seen this website that shows you NASA, which antennae around the world, which stations are communicating with which robotic spacecraft around the solar system. The Kennedy Space Center feeds that look like they're down. There's a whole bunch of live feeds here from SpaceX, plenty of those. It would be really awesome if I could find some more live video feeds of other space flight facilities around the world, but these are basically just showing you what's going on there. Again, it's nighttime, but you see a lot of really interesting stuff happening at SpaceX. These ones, by the way, are just embedded YouTube videos. That's all they are. Some of them are a lot more complicated than that, but that's them. And then there's NASA TV and stuff. let's have a quick look at the NASA TV. So a lot of you will be familiar with watching NASA TV. Just very quickly, if you've ever tried to use the program schedule on NASA's website, it's a nightmare. It's absolutely hopeless trying to tell you what's coming up. So I made my own one. So if you want to know what's coming up with NASA TV, if you come to Universe Monitor, you will actually see what's coming up in your own local time. And you don't have to try and guess what's already been on. Everything that's already happened gets moved off. So I actually made that just for my own benefit because I use it here at the Space Centre, and I just got sick of trying to figure out what was coming up. Anyway, I've got to keep moving on here. That was the category of space flight. The last category of live feeds I want to show you is observatories. Now, I have to point out, I don't have any live feeds coming from telescopes. All the feeds that we've got in this are views of observatories or of telescopes. I don't currently have any actual views that the telescopes are seeing. Of course, in most cases, you can't do that because that's not how it works. But it would be really nice to, at some stage, be able to do things, you know, the virtual telescope thing. You probably come across these online. I would like to incorporate some of that. But in the meantime, there's some really neat views if you just want to go and see what's happening around the world. Some beautiful views of some of the observatories. I've got a full moon, of course, haven't we? So you can't see the night sky there. But you actually can, you know, when you don't have the moon shot, you get some really, really beautiful views of the sky from different places around the world that obviously have good viewing. There's a couple of other things here. Perhaps I'll just quickly point out the Hubble Space Telescope. So this is showing us what the Hubble telescope is looking at right now. And below it, you can see a quick summary of whatever the research project is that is happening now and some previous ones. So I find that really interesting to keep an eye on as well. So that kind of gives you a bit of an overview of the different sorts of live feeds we have. I find it a lot of fun. For me, a lot of it is actually just the aesthetics. I love being surrounded by it. Like right behind me, I've got the screen over here showing lots of things, and just around the place, I just love having all this stuff coming in. I'm a nerd, basically, like most of you. I'm a nerd, and I like to feel like I'm in my spaceship flying around. I've got my joystick here so I can go and visit whatever planet I want to go and have a look at. It's just a lot of fun. Now, just let me quickly wrap up the other things in the Universe Monitor here. We've also got the second panel, the one in the top middle, is the rocket launch schedule, which just shows you what launches are coming up with a countdown. Unusually, our next rocket launch that we've got here is 8 days away. You don't see that very often. It's normally within the next day or so you will see something. If you click on any particular launch, it will give you some more information about it. And the live video will come up here. So, in fact, if we go and have a look at some recent launches, these shows you what has already happened. So if you click on any of these launches, you can rewatch the live stream. So this is what you would be seeing if you logged in with a launch coming up, and you can watch this launch there. So if you're into watching live launches, it would be really awesome if you could come and watch it through this website. It's the same stream. Again, it's usually just an embedded YouTube video, but the idea here is that whoever's having a launch will all be in one place. Now, there's nothing unique about this, of course. Many of you will have an app on your phone or a favorite website where you go and see what launches are coming up. But again, the idea here is to try and have all the different things all in one place. The others I probably don't have to say too much about. The next panel is space news. This is actually just syndicated or linked news stories from various websites. So if you click on any of these links, it's actually just going to take you to that particular website. And it says underneath which website it is, and you can see the logos down the left. Lots of websites that you'll be familiar with, Spaceflight Now, space.com, the Sky and Space, astronomynow.com, and things like that. So it just pulls them all in from different sources. I used to have TASS, the Russian space agency's news feed, and when the Ukraine thing happened, instead of being a thing that just came up with occasional Russian stories, it just got bombarded with propaganda. It was awful. Fortunately, I went in and checked and thought I'd better see what's happening here, but I had to remove them from the whole system, which is a shame. The other things here we probably don't really need to talk about. There's an image of the day down here. You can click for more images. You can go back and you can see previous images of the day. Currently, it relies very heavily on NASA's image of the day. The APOD, the astronomy image of the day, is a bit more problematic because of copyright issues, but hopefully I'll be able to do more with that. And then there's just a random fact, which pulls from the database, which is part of this whole app here. So before I mentioned that you can click on things to find more information. This just pulls in various, well, basically just various facts about anything to do with space, but in particular things that we use in this app. So you can click on the new random fact and it'll just bring up various different random space facts. And the last panel we don't need to worry about, that's just housekeeping. Now I'm aware that I've been talking for a long time here. Perhaps I better check out what questions we've got over here. Right, so Joseph is saying, I have Celestia, but renamed a number of the stars after my friends. Nice, thank you for that. And someone else with a difficult to pronounce name is saying, absolutely love what you've done with the site. Any plans for a mobile app? Right, good question, thank you for that. Now, this will work as a website on a mobile phone. So you can use it as a web app if you like. In fact, that's what I've done on my phone. So you can just make it an icon on your screen on your phone and you tap on that and it will bring it up, but in a browser, which is not really ideal, is it? It's not a great way to do it. Really, it's all about money. I'm not an app developer myself. I looked into it. I thought, you know, I could have a go at this, but at this stage, it's just a bridge too far for me. And what I want to do is see if the website works. Then perhaps I might be able to actually make a proper standalone app. I would love to, because it would be much better than having it as a web app. So when I say I'm wondering if it's all going to work, it's going okay so far. I launched this last year, I think about October last year, and it's getting some traction. It's doing all right, but it's not exactly taking off. And the other thing is, of course, I have to fund all of this. It's very expensive. I've got an entire web server set up just for this website because there's so much processing going on in the background. It's constantly ingesting stuff and creating videos and images and overlaying things to present to the public. It's very expensive. So what I need you to do is spread the word and see if I can get some more people on Patreon. So I should have mentioned this. Let me just bring up my Patreon page. So if you go on Patreon, it's actually just patreon.com/Space Centre, and you can go and sign up there. And what I really want to do is to be able to make the universe monitor so it doesn't have ads. I'd like to do the same with the Space Centre website too. That's quite important. But I can only do that if I get some funding. So I'm really hoping that I might just get a few people signing up. You can sign up for $2 a month. So, you know, that would make a big difference to me if I could get some people doing that. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have so far. So we're getting to the point where I'm just going to start opening it up for any other questions if anyone has anything else. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to keep talking. I'll keep talking all night long if people want to listen to it. But that's all the main stuff I wanted to get through, was really just talking about those online resources and things that I've got going. So please feel free to hit me up with any other questions. Oh, here's one. Alastair again. Do you have any Comet models or displays? A 3D printed model of Comet 67P is useful, as you can tell them there's a bit of Auckland on it. I don't think I knew that, Alastair. I don't think I did know that. Wow, thank you for sharing that. It's a great idea. I have very little to do with comets here. A lot of this kind of, because it's not a big building here, I've had to be really picky about what sort of stuff I can have, and that's really tricky. So here's the room here. Is my whiteboard thing going here? So out the back here, this is the whole shop area around there. Then sort of from here down past the bits that you can't really see, that's sort of mostly about space flight and all that sort of stuff, and heading on into the back room, which is out there. That's where most of the space flight things. Then around this side here, this is my astronomy wall of fame. That was a great project to make. I had to figure out 30 most important astronomers to put on this particular display. And then sort of heading around there is more about astronomy, and then on the wall that you can't see, that is all about where we fit into the universe, the solar system, planets, comets, etc. So anyway, what I was getting at there is that there's a lot of ideas that I simply just don't have room for, unfortunately. Now, that kind of brings me to a good point. We can't actually stay here in this building forever. So whatever happens after COVID, there is a limited time here, and I am on the lookout for another building somewhere else to go. And I really, really need it to be bigger. We've got about 250 square meters or something here, and it's just not big enough. Luckily, we do get to use the church next door, actually. If we've got a really big group, I can go and do presentations over there and then come back over here. Yeah, being a small place is difficult. Okay, what else have we got here? Jenny, hi Dave, love the talk and think your universe monitor is very cool. What is the cost to visit your space place? Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate your feedback. It's $12 for adults and $8 for kids, and kids up to 18. Under 3s are free. So yeah, $8 for kids, $12 for adults. It's not that cheap, but I think it's worth it. We have a bit of an issue with the price because when you look at the place from the outside, it does not look like much, honestly. But if I can get them in and have a go here, they always go away saying, oh, it actually was worth it. Almost always, not quite, but close enough. So there you go. I'm afraid we don't have any bulk discounts or anything like that. Those are just the prices. Now, one more question. Is there a particular good day to visit your centre, e.g. special events, or can we come on any day? Pretty much any day, really. It's not that often that we have anything special. There'll be something happening around Matariki, but no, sorry about that. On a normal public day, I don't normally do a formal presentation or anything like that. It's really just a self-guided thing. However, I do find that most days we would end up doing something informal. So I've got a big screen set up. You can't really see it on any of the angles here, but there's a big screen set up on the wall over here that people can sit and watch. In fact, if I'll just show you this view, all the people in the chairs along the front there, they would all be facing up that way, and there's a big screen up there. So we often end up congregating around there and talking about something. And I'm using the same system that I use now. So whatever I'm showing here, I can show up on that big screen. So it's the same deal. If people want to talk about something, like we were talking about the moon hoax theory before, weren't we? So if someone comes up to me with the whole moon hoax theory, I'd have them sit them down over here, and I would bring up some images, and we would start talking about it. We would go through the things, and I would show them some pictures of the flag and why the flag appears to be waving and all the other stuff. So often, even though there's nothing planned, we end up having quite a good discussion out here. It's pretty much winging it, but it's a lot of fun. Do you sell your own merchandise we can buy? Now, unfortunately, my online shop, I ended up closing it down because it just wasn't going well enough and it was costing me money. If you come in here, yes, we do have a few bits and pieces. I don't have anything to hand, but we've got some fridge magnets, we've got T-shirts, and actually that might even be it at the moment. Possibly some more stuff coming in soon. So not much. Unfortunately, I can't really do shipping. Sorry about that. Maybe that might come back online later, but for now, I'm afraid it's no. If I tell you what, if you contact me and tell me you are from an astronomical society, I'll make that commitment now. I'll make an exception for you, and I will make the effort to post it to you. At the moment, it's just T-shirts and little fridge magnets. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have there for the moment. We're getting near the end of the hour. So I wonder if there's anything else that let me just quickly go through my notes actually and see if there's anything that I've missed out. Oh, perhaps one thing, getting back to the universe monitor idea, one of the things about all of this was with the displays that I've got here at the Space Centre, it's been a real drama trying to get a system that incorporates all of these different live feeds and is able to show them to people. So if I just go back to the photo that I showed you earlier on, each of these screens has a story in itself, and I had to develop this whole system to make it. Actually, Steve, you might be interested in this. Originally, I was using OBS for this system, but when I made the universe monitor, what I wanted to do was make a simpler system for myself so that I could actually use that for these displays. So at the moment, the universe monitor is really just sort of for personal use, but you can actually use it for displays. So if anyone is interested in making displays, let's say, for example, you might happen to have a space-themed facility somewhere, and you might want to show some of these displays there. And I'm talking about places like Stardome, or any observatories, planetariums, science museums, or schools, or anything else. I am really hoping that I can continue to develop this to make it nice and easy for you to be able to show the same displays that I'm showing here at the Space Centre. I mean, this is all about spreading the word. You know, I do want to make money out of it, but I'm happy to do that for free. It's all about getting astronomy out there. And I'll tell you what, these live feeds make a big difference. I can show someone a picture of the sun, and that's interesting. But if I can say, this is what the sun looks like right now, that just changes everything for them. And when I'm sitting here and I can hear little conversations around the place, a really common one is someone saying, oh, hey, look, this is happening right now. Every day, it happens all the time. Yeah, this is what's going on right now. It's live. Come and have a look at this. It really makes a big difference if it's live. So if you're interested in having any displays like that at any place, let me know, and I'll do what I can to help sort something out. Right, that is still all the questions that we've got over there, and we are now just a couple of minutes away from the hour. Let me just quickly have a look through and see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. Because I always ignore my notes. As soon as I start talking, I just ignore my notes. I think I have pretty much covered everything that I wanted to get through, actually. So maybe I might just sort of finish off here with another quick plug. I would really, really love some more subscribers on social media, in particular YouTube. For some reason, I've just had a lot of trouble getting traction on YouTube. I'm sitting at, I think, around 850 subs or something, but it really needs to be more. Facebook is always good. If you can follow us on Facebook, that'd be great. But YouTube is the one that I would like to do. I find YouTube to be the best channel. Anyone who's watched the old Space Dave live show on YouTube, we used to do a weekly live session. That was a lot of fun. I loved doing it, but it was just too much work for a small, very small audience. Okay, righto, just another thank you message. Thank you very much for that from X the ITX, is it? I think. I'm not sure if I'm reading that properly, but look, my time is about up here. I'm happy to hang around for a little bit if anyone has got any more questions. If not, I think you know how to get hold of me. You can find me fairly easily online, so happy to answer any other questions in the future. So with that, I want to thank the Auckland Astronomical Society so much for inviting me to be part of your session tonight. It was really quite a privilege to be talking to you guys. I hope you got something out of it, and that's about all I've got to say. So I'm not quite sure these sessions